Oh my, now here is someone with great taste. An excellent choice. Be sure to visit again when I have new finds.
Okay, let's talk about a very special mod that recently became readily available to everyone in the game. And by readily available, I mean about as readily available as housing is in Sydney, Australia. We're going to be talking about Prime Chamber. Now, Prime Chamber is a mod that actually functions in a very interesting way that I think might actually give it some use, especially with some of the newer content. So, without further ado, this is a build using Prime Chamber. Notice how we've almost taken out 4/5, 80% of this corrupted heavy gunner's health. Obviously, 2 bullets will kill her. So, that is using a build like this. Corrosive damage, Vectis Gritadex, which is a pretty powerful ribbon. I reckon it's actually really, really good. And then we have Prime Chamber. Obviously, against a corrupted heavy gunner, especially at an even higher level, you'll probably want to use something like Hunter Munitions instead. Fair enough. So against the exact same corrupted heavy gunner at level 100, notice how the bullets didn't do as much damage. The bullets probably took out about 40% of her health. Mathematically speaking, that should be accurate. Whereas with Prime Chamber, they took out 80% of her health. And then of course, the slash proc from Hunter Munitions basically finished her off. Now, you may be wondering, okay, is it still worth it to use Prime Chamber? I would argue that it still is, for one reason and one reason only. Especially with Railjack, and especially with Veiljack, i.e. Red Veil Veiljack, we have an abundance of sentients to fight, especially if you happen to be doing the sentient anomaly. Now, sentients have one very peculiar trait to them, which is that they are completely invulnerable to slash procs. You may notice, if you rewind a little bit, you may notice that there was actually a slash proc and another slash proc, but no slash procs. Growing power triggered, but the Battlist doesn't take any damage from the slash proc. That's right. The slash procs and gas procs and toxin procs, they don't actually affect the Battlist. But I do believe you can actually strip their armor if you use enough corrosive procs, I guess. I'm not 100% sure about that. But my understanding is that sentients overall are status immune, which means a more effective way to fight them would be to use something that just straight up increases the damage of your weapon. So if you aren't using critical mods yet, because your weapon is not particularly good for crits, you may want to invest in that. If you are already invested in crits, i.e. using Vital Sense Point Strike and you can't really think of anything else to use, Bladed Rounds, for example, Argon Scope, for example, something else, or if you don't have the space, it might actually be worth using something like Prime Chamber. Okay? Because Prime Chamber effectively doubles the amount of damage that you do. See? Now we just took out a huge chunk of that Battlist's health. Obviously now the Battlist has brought up a damage resistance to corrosive damage, so that's no help. But that's a pretty sizable chunk of sentient health for something that doesn't take status procs. Side note, if you're using a cat and that cat is using rendering claws or that sharpened claws, that works. That actually deletes armor from sentients. So if you want to fight a lot of sentients, I recommend bringing a cat. But again, without Prime Chamber, and keep in mind, there's no Bane mods for sentients yet. So if there happens to be like a Prime Bane of sentient, okay, that might be really, really good. But if it's plus 55% damage to sentients, I don't know. I think maybe Prime Chamber is still probably your best bet. You're welcome to debate that in the comments, but that's just, I don't know, that makes sense to me. Now, obviously, you don't want to be using Prime Chamber with something like Rubico Prime, because Rubico Prime, first off, has 5 rounds in the chamber. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, obviously, duh. You can read it on the bottom right-hand corner. But secondly, the reload speed for Rubico Prime is a bit slow. So if you're going to use Prime Chamber on something like Rubico Prime, obviously that's not going to make any sense. Boom, reload. Boom, reload. Boom, reload. Whereas something like Vectis Prime, that actually might make sense. So if we jump onto our Vector's Prime, we go back to the other build. Keep in mind we're not using depleted reload in any way, shape or form. Sure, the Vector's Prime does have 1-2 bullets before you have to reload, but that reload is so fast you could actually, if you train yourself, go boom, reload, boom, reload, boom, reload. It's not ideal, but boom, reload, boom, you know, just if you train yourself for that. And also, this might be at least somewhat effective against Eidolons. I'm just throwing it out there. I know for a fact it's pretty good against the Rhopalolist. Obviously, the Rhopalolist being level 40 is not a particularly meaty target, but against those Synovias, it's pretty good. Anyway, let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. If you think it's... Actually, the big question is, I guess, do you believe it's worth putting it on your weapon? Not getting it, because it's probably not worth all the effort of getting 3,000 ducats to get this mod. It's probably not worth that. But if you have it, do you think it's worth putting it on your weapon? Do you think it's worth basically losing a mod slot to use Prime Chamber? Let me know in the comments. Otherwise, if you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more WarFrame content, and until next time, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye!